Hey guys, it's Summer Rayne from Homestead, Brooklyn, and it's time for a new episode of Plant One on Me. I have a question today from Suburban Homestead. Suburban Homestead, thank you so much for sending over the question, and I love what you're doing as well in your YouTube channel. You said, I'm all about growing edibles, and I'm sure that growing ornamentals wouldn't suffice. Do you ever feel that you need to grow more edibles? Or are you part of a community veggie garden or wish to be? Thank you for that question. And I think community gardens are so important, particularly in urban areas, because it's different. If you're in a suburban neighborhood, chances are you probably have a backyard. If you're in an urban neighborhood, you're really a lucky dog if you have a backyard with some good light. Luckily this year I was able to get into a community garden, which oftentimes you'll find that on community gardens there are wait lists. And I have to say, I can't be more excited because if you've been kind of following along my journey, I had converted my closet into what initially was a kitchen grow garden. So the idea was to actually grow vegetables and more herbs there and everything along those lines. And I experimented with potatoes and sweet potatoes and pineapples and all that other kind of good stuff. And I still grow a little bit of like food crops, more novelty and more herbs now in the actual closet garden, but it didn't really work out because there were so many bugs that got attracted, particularly to the potatoes in general. Even though I was able to harvest like some pretty amazing little potatoes, I had to pull them out probably a month and a half, I think, before I should have actually pulled them out. But it was so cool to see all these like little potatoes in my container garden grown in my closet. But yeah, I really do want to grow food, and that's what I'm doing this year. And I think that I'm not implementing all the techniques that I would like to do in the outside, but currently right now I'm at least starting to grow cucumbers, kind of this hybrid between a cabbage and it's like a spicy mustard green, and then some different lettuces, and I feel like lettuces should be lettuce-eye as plural, and some spicy arugula, and I have some herbs like dill and thyme and mint. I also grow mint and thyme indoors. I don't grow dill indoors, unfortunately. And what else am I growing? Oh, like green squash, and I'm going to try some heirloom varieties of crops. So I am currently in the process of planting. The whole community garden is actually undergoing a massive overhaul, and the space where I'm growing is actually, they're not going to get to that. So that's why I said I'm not like growing exactly how I want to be growing. So next year, hopefully I'll get a leg up. Hopefully my dad will come and bring some of his tools so we could actually build some proper raised beds, and then I'm going to implement more square foot gardening principles, which Mel Bartholomew kind of put out, and is a great book, by the way, if you haven't read it yet and you want to do an outdoor garden. I think some of his principles are really sound, and so far I'm kind of implementing a hybrid version of square foot gardening. So anyway, yes, thank you for your question. I really enjoy growing food and edibles, and the horticultural varieties, as you had mentioned, are marvelous. I mean, I also love growing crops or plants for their foliage or just to be admired and enjoyed. But the food thing is a big thing, and I also realize that having a community garden space just gets me outside at least 3 days a week. So I'm constantly going over and volunteering at the community garden, and I really see our community garden space becoming a cool place for the community to come together and host events and just enjoy a little bit of space, green space in the city. So that's my vision. I'm very excited for it. I have a lot of great energy for it. So, and a number of the community members within my community within Brooklyn are putting in some more efforts and volunteer time as well. So I think the other community garden members are very happy about that, hopefully. So yeah, if you want to check out the community garden space, it's at Espiritu Community Garden, and it's on South 2nd between Driggs and Roebling, I believe. So you could check that out. And thank you for your question as well, Suburban Homestead. The other question that I have that came in is from Princess Leia Lives. I wish she was still living. What's your favorite plant growing in home or not growing in your home? Well, I get this question a lot, and it's hard to play favorites because I don't know. It just is hard. You have so many plants, and I often default to say that my ficus, my fig tree, my first one that I got, holds a special place in my heart. But I'm not saying that it's my favorite. Although if you asked me what my favorite genus is, if I could co-opt your question, Princess Leia Lives, it is the Peperomia genus. And I have said this before on my Instagram at Homestead Brooklyn countless times, but I love Peperomia, and I think that they really are an underserved houseplant because they are relatively easy to take care of. And they are such a wide genus of plants because they're pretty diminutive, so they're quite small. They don't grow like into huge gargantuan plants. So I think people who are short on space would really enjoy these. And some of them tend to be a little bit more succulent, and some of them tend to be a little bit less succulent. And some like really bright light, and some could manage being in terrariums and would prefer a more moist environment. So I have a couple different cool varieties here. If you could see these varieties, so this just gives you a little sense of the diversity of the Peperomia. I think they're so adorable. So you'll notice this one I think is called Peperomia Jungle Red. I'm sure it's not its own species. I'm sure it's probably some hybridized. And then I have Peperomia Herta and I have Peperomia Fraser Eye. So these are really cool. And then I'm just going to throw this one in here because this one's sitting on my kitchen table. This is a Peperomia, also a different type of variety of Peperomia. And this is Peperomia Fraser Eye right here with these like cool little red stems. And I have like a Peperomia Incanta. This guy has really gorgeous fuzzy leaves, which you cannot feel, but I'm telling you, this is like petting a lamb's ear. It's so smooth. Here's another unidentified species of Peperomia, which I think is a little bit similar to the Fraser Eye, which has a little bit of like the red stem look, which I think is really smart. And here's a vast array of different types of Peperomias. I have a couple different versions of Peperomia orba variegation, and I can't remember what this one is. I have a little, but you'll notice like these little inflorescences that come off. This is very characteristic of Peperomia, and it's quite an ancient type of genus. So these little inflorescences that kind of come off or that are up here, you know, with the exception of Peperomia Fraser Eye, this is like a different type of inflorescence that this gets. It gets like little tiny like white flowers that are quite gorgeous, but most of the time Peperomia is pushing off these very long spindly inflorescences, and they have all different types of growth structures. So I would encourage you to check them out. I think I have over 3 dozen. I'd have to look at my spreadsheet, but I think I have over 3 dozen types of Peperomia, and I try to congregate them primarily in 1 or 2 spaces within the house. Primarily they're all in my workroom, and some of them are hidden behind a lot of other plants. But if you ever go out into the wild, you'll notice them. If you go to like Ecuador or Costa Rica or Peru or Colombia, you'll notice them. They're growing out of like trees and in between stones, and they're incredibly beautiful and resilient. And again, they're quite diminutive. So if you don't have a lot of space, then I would encourage you to take a look at Peperomia. They're very easy to care for. Again, the succulent ones, you could stick them in the window or a little bit away from the window and water them a little less than typical. And yeah, I would have to say that those are like really my favorite kind. So thanks again for your questions, and feel free to send more along. I mean, look me up on Instagram at Homestead Brooklyn. On YouTube here, you could send your questions just below the video links, and I collate them all into my handy book, and I try to answer them because a lot of times the questions are the same. So I just try to collate all the questions and get to them as I can. So every Thursday, tune in here, plant one on me at 7 a.m. All right, bye.